Hi, this is Mr. Holmberg at Corvallis Middle School, 5th grade, and this is how we are multiplying whole numbers by a non-unit fraction with whole number results. So here's an example, 2/3 times 15. Well, first, a couple things to know is that this phrase here, non-unit fraction. Unit fractions always have a 1 as the unit in the numerator, so 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, and so on. It'll always be 1 on the top in the numerator. That's a unit fraction. A non-unit fraction just has any other number in the numerator. So 2/3 is a non-unit fraction. And the whole number result part means that the answer, of course, to this question is going to be a whole number. So how we're approaching this in class is initially we're looking at making models of the work. So if you look here at 2/3 times 15, we're going to focus first in class on the denominator, showing how many pieces that your model should be broken into. We've been calling this a bar diagram, and that's kind of a simple way to do it. We can also make it really simple just by drawing some simple lines. I need to draw 3 because that was the denominator. And I think to myself, what are 3 things that are going to multiply to make 15? 3 as a factor of 15, I would need to have a 3 5s to make 15. And my numerator says I'm looking at just 2 of those, so we could sort of go like this and make an arc over 2 and say that the answer here is going to be 10. Now, of course, a student might be able to look at this one and see it's pretty simple and know that 2 5s make 10, and 10 is 2/3 of 15, but we're also trying to look at this model, and this is a real simple example. So the answer here to this would be, of course, 10. So in their work, in their homework, this was just one example, and their homework sheet could look something like this. And I've done several here for you. You can see, of course, the one that I just showed, 2/3 times 15. And it's also worth noting we're using a dot here to notate multiplication, not a time symbol. And that'll be throughout this unit. So I moved along here. Here we have 4 3/4. I have 4 bars. I decided, well, I knew that 4 times 2 made 8, so I put 2 above each one, made my loops above that, and said that's 6, so my answer is 6. Again, the hope would be that if there are students who don't quite understand this, that by drawing these models, they would come to understand it and eventually not need the models. So for a time in class, I might be asking kids to make sure that they use the models and then gradually see that kids are going to let loose and not use those. So down here I'll get to 5. It shows 3/8 times 56, so I know that I'm making 8 little pieces of a whole. So this would be my whole 56 here, and 8 of them. And I'm going to label, get caught up there. 8 times what makes 56? It's 7. So there would be 7, and I could even stop at this point. That might be another way that kids can start to shorten up the work, is if they understand, they get to this point and they realize, okay, I just need to put 3 of the number times the 8 to make 56, and then 3 times 7 is 21. Next one here would be 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and what are 4 things? 4 times what makes 16? It'd be 4, and if I have 3 of them, that makes my answer 3 times 4 is 12. 21, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, because that's what my denominator says. And another way I like to emphasize too when you do homework, if students are having trouble with this at all, you have them do one step like all the way through them. So for example, you could say, okay, we know the denominator is going to be 3 equal pieces here. Let's move on and look at the next one. How many is this bar diagram going to be divided into? And they'd say, well, 5, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the denominator. Okay, great. What's this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the denominator. And you could have them go all the way through just marking the denominators, and then go back and say, well, 3 times what makes 21? And it's a 7. And you put 2 of them in there. 2 7s is 14. And you could proceed like this, and that could be a way to get greater repetition to have them understand it. So anyway, this is how we are learning how to find the product of a whole number times a non-unit fraction.